All right. Good day and welcome to a new series. We did our longest series actually last year, our whole year on Parsha. And now we're moving on to a series I'm very excited about, and it's called Living with Light, the why behind the what of Jewish practice. And the idea is to go through different things that are familiar to us, practices, mitzvos, commandments, customs, all types of things that we do, and try to understand better why we do them, and not just better, but maybe deeper, because as we'll see today, we'll talk about something that is very familiar to us. We may have some ideas about what it's about, but there's always different layers to peel back. And really, as a point of introduction, we have to clarify and distinguish between different types of practices. So we have Torah commandments, Torah mitzvos. We have rabbinic commandments, rabbinic ordinances, rabbinic law. It's on another level. And then we have just customs. Now, customs could be binding too, but they're different. They're not something that was enacted by the sages. They don't have the same level of authority. And each one, when approaching them in this type of topic, is quite different. So, for example, if we're talking about Torah commandments, the why behind the what of mitzvos that we find from the Torah itself. So sometimes the Torah will give us a reason why we do it, but rarely, very few are actually explicit what the reasoning behind the mitzvah is. Some of them are obvious, intuitive, some of them less so, especially when we get into the realm of things that are more ritual in nature rather than, or more being Adam lamakom, between us and God, as opposed to interpersonal mitzvos, interpersonal laws, which are probably more readily understood. So we do have a concept when it comes to mitzvahs, and it applies particularly to Torah mitzvahs, of mitzvos tzrichos kavana, which is when we do a mitzvah, we need to have kavana, we need to have intent. But what is the intent that's required? So generally speaking, the intent that's required is just the intent that we're doing a mitzvah, that we're doing the commandment of God, not necessarily anything about it, what the meaning behind it is. Just simply, I'm doing this because God commands me to, and that's the most basic obligation. Mitzvos tzrichos kavana, mitzvos require us to have intent that we're doing the commandment of God. And but we do try to delve deeper into the reasons behind them. Ultimately, the reason we do a mitzvah, a Torah mitzvah, is because God commanded us to do it. And whether we understand why or not, we're going to do God's will. But for hundreds and thousands of years, we have also, our commentaries, our sages have been offering reasons to have a deeper, a better understanding of what it's about. So famously, the Sefer HaChinuch, which is about 800-year-old work or so. The author there went through all the mitzvahs and tried to give a reason for each one. He's not saying it's the reason, but it's a reason. It's a reason why we do it. The Rambam, Maimonides, in Guide to the Perplexed, Moreh Nevuchim, has a whole section trying to explain the reasons for the mitzvahs, categorizing them, and many others as well. And those are certainly sources that we'll be exploring when we talk about Torah commandments. Now, there's a Hebrew term that we use for the reasons behind mitzvahs, and that is ta'amei ha-mitzvos. Ta'amei ha-mitzvot. Ta'am means a reason. It also means a taste. The Hebrew word for reason and taste are the same word, tam. So the tam, the reason of the mitzvah, is also a taste of the mitzvah. Now, what that could mean, according to many, is that just like when we eat something, the food has all the nutrients in it, and we would, let's say we're eating something with protein, we would get the protein whether we could taste the food or not. So the nutrients are there, the protein's there. What's the purpose of taste, of tam? So God gave us a wonderful gift that we can experience and enjoy the food as we take in the nutrients and the the vitamins and the proteins that we need for to continue to exist, to live. So we get to enjoy it at the same time. There's time, there's taste. Not everything is bland, but the nutritional value would be there whether we had the taste or not. Similarly, the commentaries say when it comes to mitzvahs that the nutritional value is there whether we have the taste of it, meaning a mitzvah that we do when we perform a commandment of God, the effects will be there. The effect on the world, the effect on the spiritual realm, the effect on our soul, on our neshama will be elevated whether we understand what we're doing or not, whether we have the time, we have the taste or not. Understanding the reason, though, enhances the experience. Just like the time, the tasting food enhances the experience, so understanding the reason for a mitzvah gives it time, it gives it flavor, it gives the experience something that we can be even more passionate about, more energized to do it because we understand what we're doing. We're going to do it whether we understand it or not, but the time, having that flavor, having that taste, having that deeper understanding enhances the experience. But I don't think it's limited to enhancing our experience only, meaning it's not just we enjoy it more because we understand it. I think there is more that can be said. I think we can do a mitzvah better. We can do it better the more we understand it. And it will enhance the way we do the mitzvah, and it will enhance the way the mitzvah impacts us, impacts our lives, if we understand what we're doing. Now some of that applies beyond just Torah mitzvahs, but in general for Torah mitzvahs. Now, rabbinic mitzvahs, we usually know the reasons why the rabbis enact something. Mitzvahs could be a protection from transgressing something that's a Torah law. The rabbis put up fences. A mitzvah could be to commemorate an event, a miracle, and the mitzvah of Hanukkah. So we know why we light Hanukkah candles. The mitzvahs of reading the Megillah on Purim. We know it's clear, and the rabbis have told us why they enact these mitzvahs. But there's a tradition that they haven't revealed to us all of the reasons. So even if we have a reason that we're aware of, just because that reason may not apply in a given situation doesn't mean we shouldn't still keep that mitzvah, observe that mitzvah, because there are other reasons that have not been revealed to us. And sometimes they get revealed or suggested, but in the original formulation, so for example, we outside of the land of Israel, we keep 2 days of each holiday. So in Israel, they keep 1 day of the first day of Pesach, let's say, 1 day holiday of Yontif, and we have 2 days. Why do we have 2 days? Not going to go through the whole calculation now, but the idea is that the calendar outside the land of Israel, they never really knew what day it was. For a while, it would take time before they didn't have a set calendar. The calendar came out from Jerusalem each month, and when it was a new month, and they had to keep 2 days of Yom Tov, of holiday, just in case, because they weren't sure which day it was. Maybe we'll talk about it in more detail another time. Well, now we have a set calendar, so maybe we shouldn't have to do that anymore outside the land of Israel. But the commentaries explain there's more to it than that. Maybe outside the land of Israel, we need more Yom Tov. We don't have as much holiness here. We need more Yom Tov. We need 2 days of observance. So even though there's the reason that's given is because they weren't sure what day the Yom Tov was, that's why they kept 2 days, and now we are sure, so you say, forget it, we don't need to do it anymore. But no, there's other reasons more than what they reveal to us in the original formulation. There could be other ideas, and some of that is actually what we'll hopefully discover as we go. And then there are customs, minhagim. Minhagim develop for different reasons. Now, some minhagim, some customs, are what we call minhag shtus. They're shtus. They're not sensible, and they're not founded on on anything real or grounded in anything of importance. It's like I think I can't remember if this was a family story or this was just a story I heard of the woman who whenever she would make meat, she would make it in two separate pots, and that's because it's so her daughter thought that when you buy meat, you have to make it in two separate pots. And only later they realized that the grandmother who they learned it from, her pot was too small to make it in one pot, so she made it in two pots. So you know that so they have this family minhag, this family custom that develops to cook. You have to cook meat in two pots. No, it's based on because the pot wasn't big enough. So sometimes the custom will develop, and it's not grounded in anything of significance. But those are the minhagim, those are the customs that we try to clarify that they're not real customs. But many customs are based on grand, ideas, beautiful ideas, and those reasons, the reasons behind the customs also can be explained and developed. So those are the three categories. There's Torah mitzvahs, which the Torah rarely tells us the reason behind the mitzvahs. Some of them are intuitive, some less so, and there's much written about what the reasons are. But ultimately, the reason is because God commands, and the reasons help us connect them more. Then we have rabbinic mitzvahs, which often we do know the reason for, but there's other reasons that are not necessarily revealed right away and have to be discovered and revealed. And then there's customs which usually develop for a specific reason and also can be based on beautiful reasons. So for today, I am excited to learn about the mitzvah of lighting Shabbos candles. And I'll tell you, in preparing for this, I learned a lot, as I usually do when I prepare a class, which is why I love to teach, because you always discover more. And there are some reasons for Shabbos candles which are what you would normally encounter if you just did some basic research. And then what we're going to learn today is we're going to go a little bit deeper. So our discussion of Shabbos candles begins, first of all, noting that nowhere in the Torah does it say to light Shabbos candles. Shabbat candles are not a Torah mitzvah. Shabbos candles are a rabbinic mitzvah. They are counted as one of the 7 positive rabbinic mitzvahs. I don't know how you get to that number. There's often other ones, but they are definitely a very important rabbinic mitzvah. But the idea of lighting Shabbos candles is not in the Torah, comes from the sages. Now, why did the sages say that we should light Shabbos candles? So there is a verse in Yeshaya, in Isaiah, which informs us really about many of the less explicit ideas regarding Shabbos. This is where it's more explicit. It's a very important verse because the verse says, and it's on the source sheet, it's the first source, Im tashim mishabas raglecha, if you restrain your foot because of the Sabbath, asos chafatzecha, from performing your affairs, b'yom kachi, on my holy day, v'karasa l'Shabbos oneg, you call the Shabbos a delight, liktosh Hashem mechubad, the holy of the Lord honored, v'chibadto me'asos derachecha, and you honor it by not doing your wanted ways, mimitzo chavtzecha v'daber, by not pursuing your affairs and speaking words. So much is learned out from this, including that the way that we walk on Shabbos should be different, the way that we talk on Shabbos should be different, but also it says that you should call Shabbos a delight, an oneg, from which we derive the concept of oneg Shabbos, that we're supposed to delight in Shabbos. Shabbos is supposed to be a day where we experience delight and pleasure. And it also says, and honor it, v'chibadto, that from which we derive that we are supposed to honor Shabbos. So these are not Torah mitzvahs, they're from the prophets, they're maybe a little bit lower level, but from the Navi, from the prophet Yeshaya, we learn the concept of Oneg Shabbos and the concept of Kavod Shabbos, of delighting in the Shabbos and also of honoring the Shabbos. And these are two ideas that you will encounter when you research why we light Shabbos candles. And you find them in the Gemara, not as explicitly, but in the Medrash they're explicit. So that's what I put on the source sheet. First, the Midrash Tanchuma. And we're not going to read the whole thing right now. We will come back to some of it, but let's start with just the underlined part. And the underlined part says this is addressing actually a Mishnah, and the Mishnah is something that we read as part of Kabbalah Shabbos on Friday night, at least those who pray Nusach Ashkenaz. So at the end of Bameh Madlikin, we read that there are 3 mitzvos that a woman could die in childbirth if she's not careful about performing, and one of them is Hadlakas Haner. One of them is lighting candles. And the Medrash says about that, Hadlakas Haner, Dirsiv, because it's written, V'karasa Shabbos oneg. You should call Shabbos a delight, quotes our verse from Yeshaya. And it says that refers to lighting Shabbos candles. Now, if you'll tell me, V'im tomar leishe b'choshech, you'll say, what's the big deal? Just sit in the dark. Ein ze oneg. That's not delightful. It's not enjoyable to sit in the dark and eat. Remember, they didn't have electric lights. When we say to light Shabbos candles, we mean make sure that you have light on Shabbos when you, it doesn't say here when you eat, but but that's its own discussion. But if you don't have light, ein ze oneg, that's not oneg. She'ein yarde gehenim dong al b'choshech. It says that those who go to Gehenna, to hell, they have darkness. Okay, it's not pleasant to be in the dark. And the opposite is that it is pleasant to be in the light. And in order to enhance our oneg, to enhance the delight that we have, that we experience on Shabbos, we need light. So we need to light Shabbos candles. The other possibility, actually, if you skip a source for now, skip to the top of the second page if you're following, just a one-liner in the Yalkut Shimoni. In the Yalkut Shimoni, it's also a Medrash. The Medrash says, Uchvod HaShabbos neirosel hein kvoda. What's the honor of Shabbos? It's lights, it's candles, that is its honor, which implies that lighting Shabbos candles is about honoring Shabbos. It's not about us having a delightful experience. It's not about oneg. It's about the honor of Shabbos, right? Oneg is more focused on our delight, our enjoyment, while kavod, honor, is about showing honor to Shabbos. And it says here that lighting Shabbos candles shows honor to Shabbos. These two ideas, that Shabbos candles is about oneg, or Shabbos candles is about kavod, it's either about delight or honor, actually make an appearance in the commentaries on the Gemara in Shabbos. The Gemara, the Talmud on 25b of Masechah Shabbos, it talks there about that you can't light Shabbos candles from something that's foul smelling. Don't use some kind of oil or other fuel that will make a foul smell. And the Gemara asks, why? What's the problem? And it says, because since it's a bad smell, you might leave the room. So the Gemara says, what's wrong with leaving the room? You lit your Shabbos candles. Why can't you leave? So the Gemara says, Abaye says, because hadlakas ner b'Shabbos chova. Because lighting Shabbos candles is an obligation. Okay, but I lit the Shabbos candles and then I left. What's the problem? So Rashi, in his commentary, the great commentary on the Gemara, says that, what does it mean that it's an obligation? Rashi says, kavod Shabbosu. It's the honor of Shabbos. Because you can't have a proper meal without light. We make a nice meal on Shabbos to honor the Shabbos. That's a way of honoring Shabbos. It also has an aspect of oneg, of enjoyment, but it's saying this is a significant day. We need to make a great grand meal to go give proper respect to the day of Shabbos. But it's not a grand meal if it's dark in the room. There's no lights. So when the Gemara says that lighting candles on Shabbos is an obligation, Rashi explains because it's part of honoring Shabbos. That's needed to honor the Shabbos at your meal. So Rashi's actually focused on the meal needs light. Tosfos is the other main commentary on the page of the Talmud, of the Gemara, says it wouldn't be proper oneg. It wouldn't be proper delight if you don't have light. To eat in the dark is just not enjoyable. You don't even know what you're eating. So we have here Rashi is mentioning kavod, honor. Tosfos is mentioning oneg, and we know that there's sources. There's precedent. There's sources for both of them in the Midrash. The Midrash precedes both of these medieval commentaries. So they both have a Midrash to back them up for what's the central driving force behind the Shabbos candles. Is it that we enjoy our meal more, or is it that we honor Shabbos properly? Interestingly, the Rambam Maimonides, when he mentions both in his Laws of Shabbos. In one place, he mentions that Shabbos candles is about oneg, about enjoying. And in another place, he says it's about kavod. However, the way he says that is he says one needs to prepare their house on Erev Shabbos, on the eve of Shabbos, because of the honor of Shabbos, and have candles lit as Shabbos comes in. And it seems that the Rambam Maimonides is saying that you have both, that there's a way of honoring Shabbos by having light when Shabbos begins, and separately, there's an oneg of having light while you're eating. So we'll have to see maybe if there's something more here about honoring Shabbos by having light when Shabbos begins. That's the language of the Rambam, that of Maimonides, that you should prepare your house and have a light as Shabbos comes in, because of course we have to light the Shabbos candles before Shabbos starts. We can't light them on Shabbos, so we light them before Shabbos starts. But there's a way that we honor Shabbos by having them lit as Shabbos comes in. So that's something we can explore further still. But for now, just to summarize what we have, is that there's two clear reasons in the Midrash and in the poskim and the commentaries, and that is that the purpose of Shabbos candles is either a matter of oneg, of delighting in Shabbos, or it's a matter of kavod, of giving honor to Shabbos, either because you can't have a proper meal to honor Shabbos without light, or somehow having that light as Shabbos comes in itself honors the Shabbos. But that will maybe need further explanation. There is another reason that is derived from the Gemara, and this would be the last reason that I would say are more familiar, and for those who have explored at least the laws of Shabbos candles, and that is on the same page. It's actually 25b, I think I wrote on the source sheet 25a. It's the last source on the source sheet. We're jumping around a little bit. It quotes there a verse from the book of Eicha, the book of Lamentations, which says, "Vatiznach mishalom nafshi sitova." My soul is removed far from peace. I don't have peace. This is after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, of the temple. The Navi, the prophet, says that after that we didn't have peace. What does it mean we didn't have peace? So the Gemara has a very fascinating suggestion what that means. It could mean many things, but the Gemara says, what does it mean? Amar Biabo zo hadlakas ner b'Shabbos. It means we didn't have candles to light on Shabbos. What does it mean we didn't have peace? We didn't have Shabbos candles. Very fascinating. Rashi there explains, because if you don't have light, then there's no shalom, there's no peace, because you start bumping all around. Everywhere you try to walk, you're bumping into things, you're bumping into people, and there's no shalom, there's no peace in the house. So traditionally, we describe this reason as shalom bayis. Household harmony. Often we associate shalom bayis specifically with marital harmony, but it really means peace in the house. There's a shalom bayis. There's a peace in the house for the whole household. And if there's no light, then people are going to be more grumpy. They're going to be bumping into things. They're going to be bumping into each other, and there won't be peace. And this is the third reason that's given, traditional reason for Shabbos candles, um, that we have them for Shalom Bayis. And now, according to this reason, it's not only where you're eating that you should have light. You should make sure to have light in every room, some light. And this is the halacha. We're supposed to try to have some light in every room, or at least it doesn't have to be that the light is in that room, but it can get to that room. You can have it in the next room over, but as long as you could have light in your room, you need a little bit of light to be able to see so you don't bump into things. If you're bumping into things, then there's no shalom. Now, it seems very simplistic, but we see, if we pay attention, that shalom, that peace, is a major theme on Shabbos. So besides for the traditional greeting of Shabbat Shalom, where we greet people, they should have a peaceful Shabbos, but we find actually in the davening, in the prayers for, let's say, Friday night, so there's a paragraph that we say every night as part of Ma'ariv, as part of the evening service, which says, that talks about going to sleep, Hashkivenu, Hashem should lie us down in peace. But we add into that paragraph, Ufros aleinu sukkah shalomecha, God should spread over us a canopy of peace. And the closing blessing there, Haporei sukkah shalom aleinu, the one who spreads over us a canopy of peace. So there's this extra mention of peace, specifically on Friday night, that other nights of the week we don't mention. In the song Shalom Aleichem, so we greet the angels, fine. I don't think that shalom is so significant, that word Shalom Aleichem, but in the second paragraph we say, Bo'achem l'shalom, come in peace, Malachei HaShalom, the angels of peace. So we're describing the angels of Shabbos as angels of peace. So again, we see that shalom is an important theme on Shabbos. And there are many, many halachos, many different laws that and traditions that one should be more peaceful on Shabbos. The Zohar has strong warnings that the Shabbos should be a time of peace, and there's a Zohar. One of the few specific commandments regarding Shabbos is the Torah says, Lo sivaru esh. You shouldn't have fire burning in your household on Shabbos. It's one of the very few specific commandments regarding Shabbos. And the Zohar says, it doesn't just mean a literal fire. Don't have anger. Don't have anger in your house, and don't have machlokas. Don't have dispute in your house on Shabbos. Okay, it's true every day, but especially on Shabbos. So we have this theme of shalom, of peace, running through Shabbos, and the question is why? Why? I mean, shalom, peace is great every day, but why especially on Shabbos? And I think perhaps it has to do with what Shabbos represents, and Shabbos represents the world to come. So we say this actually in one of the songs on Shabbos. It's Me'ein Olam Haba. It's a taste. It's a piece of the world to come, and the world to come, Olam Haba, is a time of peace. It's a time of serenity. It's a time where we understand that everything God did was for the good. We look back. We're at peace. We're at peace with each other, and it's up to us to create that. You know, it doesn't just happen on its own. Shabbos is to represent that day, but we have to play a part in that. We have to make it a day of peace. That's a day that's like Olam Haba, that's like the world to come. I think that's perhaps why there's such a focus. So it's good to have light every day so you don't bump into people and get angry and start to argue. But specifically on Shabbos, we need shalom, we need peace. Because Shabbos is a taste of the world to come, and we have to be partners in creating that environment. and really to that point, the Gemara tells us that on Shabbos we have a neshama yesera, an extra soul. What that means, we don't really understand. But the Orach Chaim, in his commentary on the Chumash, the Orach Chaim explains that having a neshama yesera, having an extra soul, means that we're connected to the higher world of souls in an enhanced way on Shabbos. To see if I included this on my notes or not. We're connected to this higher world of souls on Shabbos, and or the way he says it almost is that extra soul that we're given on Shabbos, or the extra piece of our soul, it comes from the world of souls. It comes from a place that's Olam Haba, that's the world to come. And it's used to everything being nice and peaceful and happy. And so we have to give it that experience on Shabbos. And that's why we have to give it oneg. We have to give it delight, because it's part of it's a piece of it's a taste of the world to come. It's a taste of the delight of the world to come. And we have to give it peace as well. And this could be another reason. I saw in a work called the Carbon Shabbos, which I saw quoted, and I found the work. It's like a 17th century work by the Maggid of Slutsk, and it's all about Shabbos. And he suggests that lighting Shabbos candles is also about bringing in the neshama yesera, because we know that a flame represents the neshama. That's why people light a candle for a yahrzeit, and a flame. There's a verse, Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam. The candle of God is the soul of man. So there's this connection between a candle and a soul. And so he suggests that lighting the Shabbos candles is also about welcoming the neshama yesera, the extra soul. So it's not just about kavod, it's not just about oneg, it's not just about honoring Shabbos, or perhaps this is a way of honoring Shabbos. We said that the Rambam says that you should have a candle lit as Shabbos comes in because it honors Shabbos. How does it honor Shabbos? Well, perhaps it honors Shabbos because what about Shabbos are we honoring? We're honoring that we have an extra soul on Shabbos. And we light a candle to welcome, we light candles to welcome our neshama yesera, our extra soul on Shabbos, which, according to the Orach Chaim, ties into the idea of Shabbos being like the world to come, because it's because we have that extra soul that we need to create an environment of the world to come for that soul, because that's what it's used to. It's used to the world of souls. It's used to peace and happiness, and that's the environment that we have to create for it on Shabbos. And lighting the Shabbos candles is what reminds us of that. As Shabbos comes in, we're lighting the candle, which represents the neshama, which represents the soul, as a reminder that we're getting a neshama yesera, we're getting an extra soul on Shabbos. There is another explanation that I saw in the Carbon Shabbos, where he develops a little bit more of what the Midrash says regarding the Shabbos candles. So if we go back to the Midrash on the first page of the source sheet. So the second source, the Midrash Tanchuma, and the Midrash goes on after telling us that we should light Shabbos candles, and that a woman who doesn't could die from childbirth, something very, very severe. It then asks, why were women enjoined to perform these three duties? Now, I should note, by the way, that men and women are obligated in Shabbos candles, meaning there's the household has to have Shabbos candles. If traditionally, it's the wife who lights them, but if a man is single, or if the wife is unable to light them, then a man must light them, and there has to be Shabbos candles. Everybody has to honor the Shabbos. Everybody has to delight in Shabbos. Everybody has to make sure that there is shalom bayis, that there's peace in the home. But the mitzvah if there is a husband and a wife, the mitzvah generally falls upon the wife to perform it, and that's alluded to in this midrash. So the midrash asks, why were women enjoined to perform these three duties? Why specifically women? So the traditional answer is because it's about the house, and the wife is it's her house. She's the one in charge of the house. So she's going to make sure there's light. She's going to make sure there's there's oneg, that there's delight. But the midrash says something else. The midrash says, the Holy One, blessed be He, said, Adam Harishon, the first of my creatures, was commanded not to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Yet concerning Eve it is written, and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, she gave also unto her husband with her and did eat. So we know Chava, Eve, gives Adam from the tree of knowledge. And so then it goes on a little bit. It says, why is a woman charged with the duty of lighting the Shabbos lights? It was she who extinguished the light of Adam by causing his death. Let's take out the words by causing his death, because it's not actually in the English, in the Hebrew, I mean. It was she who extinguished the light of Adam, as it is written, Ner Hashem nishmas Adam, the spirit of man is the light of the Lord. Therefore, she is obliged to observe the commandment to light the Shabbos lights. So actually, yeah, I think the simple reading of this midrash is like they translated that she brought Adam into the sin. She brought death to the world. There was no death before the sin, and therefore she lights it. She lights the Shabbos candles, similar to what we said before, as like she extinguished his spirit, and therefore she lights the Shabbos candles to rectify that, so to speak. Okay, but there's really more, and because it's not just that she brought death to the world, but the midrash tells us, if you look at the next source, that the light with which God created the world, a person could look at and see from one end of the world to the other end. When the Holy One, blessed be He, looked at the people of the generation of the flood and the people of the generation of the dispersion, which is the Tower of Babel, whose actions were to be corrupt, He arose and hid it away and designated it for the righteous in the future. So we have an idea that there was some incredible light in the world when God first created light, and the Midrash describes it as a man, and the Gemara also, man could see from one end of the earth to the other. Whether that's meant to be taken literal, I think it's more of like a spiritual idea, that our spiritual vision was incredible. But when God saw that there would be wickedness in the world, when He saw that there would be the generation of the Mabul, of the flood, and the generation of the Dor Haflaga, the dispersion, the Tower of Babel, God hid away that light for the end of days. That's what the Midrash says. So, okay. There's another Midrash that says similar but a little bit different. It says that when Adam sinned, when they ate from the tree of knowledge, that light was taken away. The same light, this ability to see from one end of the earth to the other, was taken away after the sin of eating from the tree of knowledge. Now, the Karban Shabbos says that those are the same idea, because, meaning, this Midrash says it was when God saw the sins of future generations, while another Midrash says it was when Adam sinned. But the Karban Shabbos says it's really the same thing, because before Adam sinned, there wasn't going to be sin in the world. Adam, if he made it through, we would have gone straight to Olam Haba, the world to come, if he made it through that Friday of creation, and we would have, whether it was meant to be this way or not, but we would have been done. We would have gone straight to Olam Haba, the world to come. It's only because Adam sinned that now man was changed. We now had the ability to do wickedness, to do evil, and that led to all future sins. So the light, this spiritual light, this incredible spiritual light that had to be hidden away because of future sins, was really brought about by that first sin of eating from the Eitz Hadas, of eating from the tree of knowledge. So says the Karban Shabbos, again, going back to Chava being the one responsible for bringing about this sin. So she brought about that this special spiritual light would be hidden away until the end of days. At the root of it was Chava. And therefore, it's Chava, it's the women who are given the task to each week as we welcome Shabbos, which represents that world to come, which represents that time when that light will be revealed, that incredible spiritual light that was hidden away, which again, we don't understand, but we know that there's going to be this incredible level of spirituality in the world to come, that each week she lights Shabbos candles to represent that light being brought back at the end of days in the world to come. So, and that's also why, by the way, she lights it on Friday night, because if the reason she lights is just because she extinguished the light of man, or she extinguished Adam's soul, so what does that have to do with Shabbos? She should light candles any night because she extinguished the light. But two things. One is it happened on Friday because they were created on Friday and the sin happened on Friday. But also, it extinguished the light, this incredible spiritual light that is going to be revealed only in the end of days in the world to come. So when we light Shabbos candles, so another idea, says the Karban Shabbos, is that and again, this is why it's especially for women, special mitzvah for women, that they just, since Chava caused that light to be extinguished, so we rectify that, and specifically a woman tries to rectify that by bringing in that special light that represents the spiritual light of the world to come. And all of these help to focus us on what Shabbos is about. Whether we light it for honor, so let me just go back to that for a second. The Karban Shabbos says that when we say that it's the honor of Shabbos, it's not just, well, it's honorable to have a meal with light. It's much more than that. It's the honor of Shabbos because it's what Shabbos really is about. Shabbos is a day that represents the world to come, and it focuses us. If we each week we encounter a Shabbos, we encounter a day that's to remind us of what our destination is, and every week we have that reminder, and that can impact our whole week because we're reminded this world is temporary. We're on our way to the world to come. We need to prepare, just like we prepare for Shabbos. We have to prepare for the world to come, and lighting Shabbos candles honors the Shabbos because it puts Shabbos in its place. It shows us what it is. It's a day where we have a neshama yesera. It's a day where we have that added soul, that added level of spirituality. And it's a day that represents the world to come, where we're going to have that tremendous revelation of spiritual light. And each week, when we light the Shabbos candles, we get to remind ourselves of that. We, so to speak, we do that. We bring in that light with the Shabbos candles. So I think these are some very different perspectives than maybe what we've heard before about what it's about. Certainly, it's about having delighting in Shabbos, owning Shabbos. It's about honoring the Shabbos. It's about shalom bayis. It's about having peace in the home. But all of this is really about appreciating what Shabbos is. It's a day that represents the world to come. It's a reminder of what our destination is, and it's a day where, God willing, that spiritual light that was hidden away will once again be revealed for us. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Interesting.